My name is Frank Ross. I'm a native of Cleveland, Ohio, and while I was growing up, I was very much into sports. Did a lot of playground basketball, and so when I was 14 years old, my neighbors' nephews came to Cleveland, and they were very good athletes and basketball players. They were from Louisville, Kentucky, and they spent the summer with their aunt, Mrs. Brown. And we would go to the playground, and they were very, very good athletes. And after I got to know them, they would tell me stories about Olympic champion Cassius Clay. Now, these guys' names were, as I remember, the guard, we call him a point guard. His name was Hindu, nickname. The other one, we call him High Pockets. Then there was Billy Blinko. But the best of the group is well known in Louisville, Kentucky. His name is Randolph Redwine. He was all everything in basketball in the state of Kentucky. And he also went to high school with Cassius Clay, whose future became Muhammad Ali. And I remember specifically, they told me that Cassius Clay was maybe in the 11th grade, and there was a tough guy at Louisville Central High School by the name of Puff Daddy Haze, who was more of a street tough guy who had some friends who were kind of bullies, and that Ali was a bright-eyed, pure athlete, pretty nice guy. Everybody loved him, always cracking jokes. But one of the guys didn't particularly like all the attention that Ali was getting, and he challenged him. And he had about 4 of his buddies with him, and they also made it appear that they were going to attack Ali. But before they could do anything, I was told he had knocked all 4 of them down, and that it is legend in the Louisville community about Ali taking on Puff Daddy Haze and his boys in Louisville Central High School in the boys' gym locker room. That is kind of a legend down there. That could be backed up maybe by Bobby Hampton's sister. Bobby Hampton actually told me this story. Bobby had moved to Cleveland. He went to school at Louisville Central High School. He was not an athlete, but he was somewhat of a historian. He passed last year, unfortunately, but that story remains in my mind about Puff Daddy Haze and Cassius Clay, future Muhammad Ali. Myself, I'm a former athlete. Track and field was my best sport. I'm a graduate of John Adams High School, Central State University, where I was an All-American in track and field. Former educator, retired now, working for the Lyndhurst Court part-time with my partner, David Laney. And I am into dance now, so I write books about dance. The 2 books that were actually bestsellers, one is called Soul Dancing, and it was published by the National Dance Association. That's in the Smithsonian Museum of Black History or African American History in DC. The other book is called The Grand March, Spirit of African Americans. It talks about the missing national dance of African Americans, which I had the privilege of founding. Is called The Grand March. And so I travel around the country doing workshops and lectures on it. I like to do a certain amount of public speaking. I enjoy dances like Chicago Step-In and Detroit Ballroom, which are basically unknown to the mainstream. They don't know a lot about African American dances because they generally don't put them on television. But I would like one day for the nation to see the sophisticated dances of African Americans.